Every single day, choices are being made on your plate that quietly shape your future health, not in loud or obvious ways, not with instant pain or clear warning signs, but slowly, silently. Deep inside your body, certain foods push your insulin system to work harder, then weaker, until one day it no longer responds the way it should. This process does not announce itself. It does not come with alarms. It often feels normal at first, a little tired after meals, cravings that feel hard to control, weight that refuses to move, and most people never connect these signs to what they eat every day. Insulin resistance is not rare, it is not extreme, it is becoming common. And the most dangerous part is this: many of the foods that trigger it are seen as normal, harmless, or even healthy. They are eaten daily by millions of people who believe they are doing nothing wrong. Yet inside the body, these foods quietly raise blood sugar, spike insulin, and slowly teach cells to stop listening. Over time, this can lead to stubborn weight gain, constant hunger, brain fog, energy crashes, and a much higher risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease. In this video, you will learn about 9 specific foods that silently push the body toward insulin resistance. These are not rare foods. They are not exotic. They are common items found in homes, restaurants, and grocery stores everywhere. Some of them may surprise you. Some may already be part of your daily routine. And once you understand what they do inside the body, it becomes very hard to look at them the same way again. This is not about fear. It is about awareness. Insulin resistance does not start overnight. It builds slowly through repeated signals. Every time blood sugar spikes too fast, insulin is forced to rise too high. When this happens again and again, cells begin to protect themselves by responding less. The pancreas pushes harder, insulin levels stay elevated longer, and the cycle continues quietly, often for years before any diagnosis is made. Many people focus only on sugar, but sugar is just one piece of the story. Certain refined grains, processed fats, and heavily altered foods can disrupt insulin signaling just as strongly, sometimes even more. Some foods trigger inflammation. Some overload the liver, some strip away fiber that normally slows sugar absorption, and some combine all of these effects at once, making their impact far stronger than most people realize. By the end of this video, you will clearly understand which 9 foods are most likely to push your body in this direction and why they do it. You will also understand how these foods affect insulin step by step, in simple terms without complicated science or confusing language. This knowledge matters because insulin resistance often develops before blood tests show anything wrong, long before diabetes, long before medication, long before doctors raise concerns. Watching until the end is important because the final foods on this list are often the most overlooked. These are foods people defend, justify, and consume without a second thought. Yet, research continues to show their deep impact on metabolic health. Missing them means missing a critical part of the picture. This video is not telling you to be perfect. It is not telling you to never enjoy food again. It is showing you where the real damage often starts so you can make smarter decisions with clarity instead of confusion. Small changes, made consistently, can dramatically reduce insulin strain. But those changes only work when you know what to change. Every food on this list earned its place, not because it is trendy to avoid it, not because it sounds scary, but because it repeatedly shows up in patterns linked to rising insulin resistance across populations. These foods share one common trait: they disrupt the body's natural balance without making it obvious. If energy crashes feel normal, if hunger returns too fast after eating, if weight feels stuck despite effort, these are not random experiences. They are signals. And food is often the loudest signal of all. Stay with this video until the end because understanding these foods could be the difference between slowly losing control of blood sugar and taking it back early, while change is still simple and powerful. Welcome to the channel where health is explained clearly, honestly, and without noise. If you want more videos that break down how the body really works and how everyday habits shape long-term health, subscribe now. Your future self will thank you. Inside the body, insulin works like a key. Its job is simple. It helps sugar move from the blood into the cells, where it can be used for energy. When everything is working well, this process is smooth and balanced. Blood sugar rises after eating, insulin responds, and then levels return to normal. Insulin resistance begins when this system starts to fail. The body still produces insulin, sometimes even more than before, but the cells stop responding properly. The key is there, but the lock no longer opens easily. As a result, sugar stays in the bloodstream longer than it should. This creates a constant state of high blood sugar and high insulin, which slowly disrupts normal metabolism. At first, this feels mild. Energy drops after meals. Hunger returns quickly. Focus fades. Over time, the effects grow stronger. The body stores more fat, especially around the belly. Muscles feel tired. The brain feels foggy. And the pancreas is forced to work harder every day just to keep blood sugar under control. This strain does not show up overnight, but it builds quietly, meal after meal, year after year. That is why insulin resistance matters. It sits at the center of many modern health problems. Fatigue that never fully goes away, weight gain that resists effort, cravings that feel uncontrollable. And eventually, for many people, type 2 diabetes becomes the final outcome of a process that started long before any diagnosis. One of the fastest ways to push the body toward this state is through sugary drinks. These drinks look simple, they are easy to consume, they go down quickly and feel refreshing. But inside the body, they create one of the most extreme sugar responses possible. Soda, cola, sweetened teas, energy drinks, and flavored juices deliver large amounts of sugar in liquid form. Liquids do not require digestion like solid food. There is no fiber to slow absorption. There is no chewing to delay intake. Sugar enters the bloodstream rapidly, causing blood glucose to spike within minutes. In response, the pancreas releases a large surge of insulin to bring those levels down. This happens fast and often. Many people consume sugary drinks daily, sometimes multiple times a day, without realizing the repeated stress this places on insulin function. Each spike trains the body to expect extreme sugar loads. Each insulin surge pushes cells to defend themselves by responding less. Over time, insulin must rise higher and stay elevated longer to achieve the same effect. This constant pressure accelerates insulin resistance more efficiently than many solid foods. Even drinks that appear lighter or healthier, such as sweetened iced teas or fruit-based beverages, can trigger the same response if sugar is added or concentrated. The body does not distinguish between sources once sugar enters the blood. It responds to speed and quantity, and sugary drinks deliver both in excess. As this pattern repeats, blood sugar becomes harder to control. Energy crashes become common shortly after consumption. Hunger returns quickly, often leading to more intake. The cycle reinforces itself. Liquid sugar does not satisfy hunger signals the way solid food does, so the brain does not register fullness. Calories are added without compensation. Insulin remains elevated more often than it should, and the metabolic system slowly shifts towards storage instead of balance. Over time, the body adapts by becoming less sensitive to insulin, setting the stage for long-term metabolic damage. Refined grains follow a similar path, though their damage often feels more subtle because they are seen as food rather than drinks. White bread, white pasta, bagels, and many processed grain products begin as whole grains but are stripped of fiber, nutrients, and structure during processing. What remains is a form of carbohydrate that the body breaks down very quickly into sugar. Without fiber to slow digestion, these foods raise blood glucose rapidly after eating. The effect is not as instant as a sugary drink, but it is still fast enough to demand a strong insulin response. When refined grains are eaten regularly, they create repeated blood sugar spikes throughout the day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks all deliver similar signals to the body. Sugar rises, insulin rises, cells become overstimulated. Because refined grains digest so quickly, they also fail to provide lasting satiety. Hunger returns sooner than expected, encouraging more frequent eating. This increases the total number of insulin spikes per day, which matters more than most people realize. Insulin resistance is not just about how high insulin goes, but how often it is elevated. Constant exposure trains cells to ignore the signal. Over time, muscles, liver, and fat tissue become less responsive. The pancreas compensates by producing even more insulin. This compensation can last for years, masking the problem while damage accumulates quietly. Refined grains are often combined with added fats and sugars, which further intensify their impact. A bagel with spread, white bread sandwiches, or creamy pasta dishes all deliver dense energy with minimal fiber. The body absorbs these meals quickly, pushing glucose into the bloodstream faster than it can be cleared efficiently. This creates a metabolic environment where insulin is always active, rarely resting. Without periods of low insulin, the body struggles to burn stored fat. Weight gain becomes easier. Energy regulation becomes unstable, and the path toward insulin resistance becomes smoother and more predictable. Pastries and baked sweets represent one of the most concentrated combinations of factors that drive insulin resistance. Cakes, cookies, donuts, and similar items are typically made with refined flour and added sugar, often paired with unhealthy fats. This combination delivers a powerful metabolic hit. Refined flour converts rapidly into glucose. Added sugar increases the load even further, and the lack of fiber allows both to enter the bloodstream quickly. The result is a sharp rise in blood sugar followed by a strong insulin surge. This response is intense, even when portion sizes seem small. Because these foods are designed to be highly palatable, they are easy to overconsume, they activate reward pathways in the brain that encourage repeated intake. This leads to frequent insulin spikes that strain the system over time. Pastries also tend to be eaten between meals, stacking insulin responses on top of one another without sufficient recovery. When insulin remains elevated for long periods, cells protect themselves by reducing sensitivity. This defensive response is the foundation of insulin resistance. Baked sweets also contribute to inflammation and oxidative stress, which further interfere with insulin signaling. When inflammation is present, insulin receptors do not function as efficiently. This means the same amount of insulin produces a weaker response, forcing the pancreas to increase output over time. This creates a cycle of higher insulin levels and worsening resistance. The body becomes trapped in a state where sugar clearance requires more effort but delivers less effect. These foods also disrupt hunger regulation. After the initial spike, blood sugar often drops quickly, triggering cravings and fatigue. This encourages more consumption, reinforcing the cycle. The body learns to expect rapid energy followed by rapid decline. Stable blood sugar becomes harder to maintain. Insulin regulation becomes chaotic rather than controlled. When sugary drinks, refined grains, and baked sweets appear regularly in the diet, their effects compound. Each food may seem harmless on its own, but together they create an environment of constant glucose overload and insulin stress. This environment trains the body to function in a state of imbalance. The damage is not dramatic at first, it is quiet, it feels normal. But beneath the surface, insulin resistance is taking shape, step by step, driven by foods that are familiar, accessible, and widely accepted as part of everyday life. Ultra-processed snacks have quietly become a daily habit for many people. Chips, crackers, packaged baked goods, and similar items are no longer occasional treats. They are eaten between meals, during work, late at night, and sometimes even instead of real meals. These foods are engineered for convenience and taste, not for metabolic balance. They are usually stripped of natural fiber and loaded with refined starches, added sugars, and industrial fats. Fiber is one of the body's main tools for slowing sugar absorption, and when it is missing, blood glucose rises faster than it should. At the same time, many ultra-processed snacks contain trans fats or highly processed vegetable oils that interfere with normal insulin signaling. These fats change how cell membranes behave, making it harder for insulin to communicate its message effectively. The result is a weaker response even when insulin levels are high. Over time, this repeated exposure trains the body to ignore insulin signals, pushing it further toward resistance. Another problem with ultra-processed snacks is how easy they are to eat in large amounts. They are designed to be light, crunchy, and satisfying without triggering fullness. This encourages constant grazing throughout the day. Each small serving may not seem harmful, but every bite still triggers a rise in blood sugar and insulin. When these spikes happen repeatedly without long breaks, insulin never fully drops to resting levels. The body stays in a constant state of storage rather than repair and balance. This makes it harder to burn fat, harder to regulate appetite, and harder to maintain steady energy. Over time, cells adapt by responding less to insulin, not because insulin is absent, but because it is always present. Fast food and fried foods intensify this problem even further. French fries, chicken nuggets, fried sandwiches, and similar meals combine refined carbohydrates with unhealthy fats in a way that strongly disrupts metabolism. Refined carbs break down quickly into sugar, while fried fats slow digestion just enough to keep insulin elevated for longer periods. This combination leads to prolonged insulin exposure rather than a short, controlled response. The oils used in frying are often reused and heavily processed, which increases oxidative stress and inflammation inside the body. Inflammation directly interferes with insulin signaling, making cells less responsive even when insulin levels rise appropriately. Fast food meals are also calorie-dense and nutrient-poor. They deliver large amounts of energy without the vitamins, minerals, and fiber needed to process that energy efficiently. This creates a situation where the body is overloaded but undernourished. Insulin is forced to work harder to manage blood sugar, while cells lack the tools they need to respond properly. Over time, the pancreas compensates by releasing more insulin, masking the problem while resistance grows silently. Regular consumption of fast food has been consistently associated with worsening insulin sensitivity, not because of a single ingredient, but because of the combined effect of refined carbs, damaged fats, excess calories, and low fiber. Processed meats add another layer of metabolic stress that often goes unnoticed. Bacon, sausage, hot dogs, and similar products are widely consumed and often seen as convenient protein sources. But these meats are rarely just meat. They often contain added sugars, preservatives, and chemical compounds formed during processing. Hidden sugars are used to enhance flavor and color, contributing to blood sugar rises that people do not expect from savory foods. Preservatives and additives can disrupt gut health, and gut health plays a major role in insulin regulation. When the gut becomes imbalanced, inflammation increases and insulin signaling weakens. Processed meats are also linked to increased oxidative stress, which damages cells and interferes with how insulin receptors function. When receptors are damaged or inflamed, insulin must work harder to produce the same effect. This leads to higher circulating insulin levels and greater resistance over time. Unlike whole protein sources, processed meats often lack the protective nutrients that support metabolic health. They deliver protein alongside compounds that actively work against insulin sensitivity, making their long-term impact far more harmful than many people realize. Sugary breakfast cereals often begin the day with a metabolic shock. Many cereals are marketed as healthy, quick, and suitable for daily consumption. Yet, behind the packaging, they often contain large amounts of added sugar combined with refined grains. This combination digests rapidly, sending glucose into the bloodstream early in the morning when the body is just beginning its daily rhythm. The result is a sharp rise in blood sugar followed by a strong insulin response. Starting the day this way sets the tone for unstable energy and increased hunger. Because these cereals lack sufficient protein and fiber, they fail to keep blood sugar stable for long. Within a short time, glucose levels drop, leading to fatigue, cravings, and the desire for more food. This creates a cycle where insulin spikes early and often, increasing total insulin exposure throughout the day. Repeating this pattern daily trains the body to function in a state of constant fluctuation rather than balance. Over time, insulin sensitivity declines, and the body becomes less efficient at managing blood sugar from the very start of the day. When ultra-processed snacks, fast food, processed meats, and sugary cereals become regular parts of the diet, their effects accumulate. Each food adds its own strain, but together they create an environment where insulin is constantly challenged. The damage does not come from one meal or one day. It comes from repetition, from habits that feel normal, from foods that are convenient, familiar, and widely accepted. And while the body works hard to adapt, its ability to respond properly to insulin slowly fades, setting the stage for deeper metabolic imbalance long before any clear warning signs appear. Sweetened dairy products are often misunderstood because dairy itself can be nourishing when left in its natural form. Milk and yogurt contain protein, calcium, and beneficial fats that can support muscle function, bone health, and even blood sugar control when consumed without additives. The problem begins when sugar is added. Flavored milks, fruit yogurts, drinkable yogurts, and dessert-style dairy products often contain large amounts of added sugar, sometimes as much as a soft drink. This added sugar changes how the body responds to the food completely. Instead of a slow, balanced release of nutrients, sugar enters the bloodstream quickly and forces insulin to rise sharply. The natural benefits of dairy are overshadowed by the sugar load, and insulin is pushed to work harder than it should. Liquid dairy products with added sugar are especially problematic. They are easy to consume quickly, often without feeling full. This allows sugar to enter the blood rapidly while bypassing natural appetite control. Even thicker products like sweetened yogurts can cause sharp glucose rises because the fiber content is low and the sugar content is high. When this becomes a daily habit, insulin is repeatedly overstimulated. Over time, cells respond by reducing sensitivity, not because insulin is absent, but because it is constantly present. What appears to be a healthy snack or breakfast choice quietly becomes a driver of insulin imbalance. Another issue with sweetened dairy is timing. These products are often eaten in the morning or as snacks between meals. This adds extra insulin spikes on top of those already created by regular meals. The body rarely gets a break from elevated insulin levels. Without periods of low insulin, fat burning slows, hunger regulation weakens, and energy becomes unstable. The pancreas compensates by producing more insulin, masking the problem until resistance has already developed. What makes this especially deceptive is the health image surrounding dairy. Many people would never suspect that a flavored yogurt could push blood sugar in the wrong direction, yet repeated exposure creates exactly that effect. Alcohol introduces a different but equally disruptive pattern. Alcohol affects blood sugar in complex ways, often creating swings rather than steady rises. When alcohol enters the body, the liver shifts its priority to breaking it down. While the liver is focused on processing alcohol, it becomes less able to regulate blood sugar properly. This can cause blood sugar to drop unexpectedly, especially when alcohol is consumed without food. In response, the body may release stress hormones that raise blood sugar later, creating instability rather than balance. Sugary cocktails make this effect much worse. Mixed drinks often combine alcohol with syrups, fruit juices, and sweetened mixers. This delivers a fast sugar load alongside alcohol's disruptive effects on liver function. Blood sugar may spike quickly, insulin rises, and then levels crash as the liver struggles to manage both substances at once. Beer creates a similar problem through a different path. It contains refined carbohydrates that break down into sugar, triggering insulin release, while alcohol simultaneously interferes with glucose regulation. Repeating this pattern trains the body to handle sugar poorly, especially when drinking becomes a regular habit rather than an occasional one. Alcohol also increases appetite and lowers inhibition, which often leads to overeating. Late night eating after drinking adds more glucose to an already stressed system. Insulin remains elevated longer and recovery is delayed. Over time, frequent alcohol consumption is linked to worsening insulin sensitivity, increased fat storage around the abdomen, and greater metabolic strain. These effects build slowly and quietly, often overlooked, because alcohol-related damage is usually associated with the liver alone. In reality, insulin signaling is deeply affected as well. At this point, the pattern across all 9 foods becomes clear. Sugary drinks flood the bloodstream with liquid sugar. Refined grains break down too quickly and spike glucose. Pastries combine sugar and refined flour into a powerful metabolic hit. Ultra-processed snacks remove fiber and add harmful fats. Fast food layers refined carbs with damaged oils. Processed meats add hidden sugars and inflammatory compounds. Sugary cereals disrupt blood sugar from the very start of the day. Sweetened dairy hides sugar behind a healthy image. Alcohol creates instability and magnifies the damage when combined with sugar. Each one pushes insulin to work harder. Each one trains cells to respond less. Each one contributes to the same quiet outcome. Sugary drinks deliver sugar too fast and too often. Refined grains turn into glucose almost immediately. Pastries overload the system with sugar and refined flour together. Ultra-processed snacks remove fiber and promote constant insulin release. Fast food combines unhealthy fats and refined carbs that prolong insulin exposure. Processed meats interfere with insulin signaling through additives and inflammation. Sugary breakfast cereals spike insulin early and repeatedly. Sweetened dairy cancels out its own benefits with added sugar. Alcohol creates blood sugar swings that destabilize insulin control. Replacing these foods does not require extreme restriction. It requires choosing foods that support steady blood sugar rather than constant spikes. Whole grains digest more slowly and contain fiber that limits how fast sugar enters the blood. Vegetables add volume, nutrients, and fiber without overwhelming insulin. Lean protein supports muscle and helps control appetite while keeping blood sugar stable. Healthy fats slow digestion and reduce the speed of glucose absorption. When fiber is present, sugar enters the bloodstream gradually. Insulin rises gently rather than sharply. Cells respond more effectively. Energy becomes steadier. Hunger becomes more predictable. These foods work with the body instead of against it. They reduce the frequency and intensity of insulin spikes. They allow insulin levels to return to baseline between meals. Over time, this gives cells a chance to regain sensitivity. The system becomes calmer, more responsive, and easier to manage. The shift does not happen instantly, but it begins with understanding which foods quietly push the body off balance and which ones help bring it back. What you eat every day sends signals to your body. Some of those signals heal, some slowly create damage. The foods covered in this video are common, familiar, and often trusted, yet their effect on insulin can shape energy, weight, and long-term health in powerful ways. Awareness is the first step toward control. When you understand what is happening inside your body, even small changes can create big results over time. Now it's your turn. Which food on this list surprised you the most? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. If this video helped you see food in a new way, tap the like button so more people can learn this too. Share this video with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel for more clear, honest health knowledge that helps you protect your body before problems begin.